Let me get to Andy Staples. He covers college football for On3 Sports. He was at the Ohio State-Michigan game on Saturday, and he'll be at the SEC Championship with Alabama and Georgia. Sorry to put you through that, Andy. Who had a worst month, Jim Harbaugh or Ryan Day?
Oh, Ryan Day, no question, because Jim Harbaugh not being on the sideline Saturday made losing even worse for Ryan Day, because you were already 0-2 in your last two against Michigan. Now you're 0-3, and you've also lost to the interim coach, who, by the way, if something happens with Jim Harbaugh down the road, Sharon Moore is probably the coach. So that's the guy you're probably dealing with going forward. And Ryan Day has got to get it figured out. I was there in 2019 when Jim Harbaugh was on loss number 5 in a row to Ohio State, and he's being asked all these questions, and he can't answer them. Ryan Day was in the same position on Saturday. It was eerie. Same stadium, same lack of answers.
Okay, if I said in the next 3 years, who is more likely to still be at their school, Ryan Day or Jim Harbaugh?
Oh, Ryan Day, no question. That's an easy one, because Jim Harbaugh has tried to go to the NFL the last 2 years. Clearly, there's still an itch there. And look, he was really good in the NFL. He got to a Super Bowl. He went to 3 NFC championship games. So I would imagine that he still would like to try to win that Super Bowl. Also, there is the matter of 2 NCAA investigations where the punishment hasn't been handed down by the NCAA yet. So we don't know what's going to happen with that. Ryan Day, he's got time to work this out. Now, if he gets tired of everybody yelling at him because he wins all the other games except Michigan, he could go somewhere else. But I do feel like, and from talking to people around Ryan Day, he wants to work this out. He wants to make this work. And I got to be honest, Dan, when that 12-team playoff starts next year, Ohio State is perfectly built for that, because they're the type of team that's going to get in every year. And if they get hot, they'll win the national championship. So Ryan Day is actually still in a really good position. He's just got to figure out Michigan.
But can he survive next year at home losing to Michigan?
Maybe not. Maybe not. That is the thing, because John Cooper went 2-10-1 against Michigan. There was no social media. Only nerds knew what the internet was. Like, this is a completely different environment. I think if 0-4 might be enough to push them over the edge. And Ryan Day understands that, because like he makes it very clear that game is more important than everything else. Everybody knows that. And yeah, he's got to get that figured out. But if you ask me the same question, even if he lost that game, the Jim Harbaugh or Ryan Day question, I still say Ryan Day is more likely to be there.
Help me understand what's going on at Colorado with Deion Sanders and his recruits.
So he's had a couple decommits of late. He came out and said they're not going to be an ATM, which was the wrong thing to say. Deion, he has this platform that he can offer, which should lead to good NIL money as well, because there's nobody else who can make people watch the team play like Deion Sanders can. But when you say we're not going to be an ATM, that is coach speak for our collective has no money. We're broke. And he went on his radio show, clarified, he said, oh, you need to help our NIL. Yeah, you're going to have to do that, because they need offensive and defensive linemen. Those people are the most expensive players in the transfer portal. They're the most expensive players coming out of high school other than quarterbacks. Like, I always laugh, because before NIL started, I'd get these questions from readers, and they say, well, what's going to happen when the quarterback makes all the money and the left tackle is not making it? I'm like, dude, the left tackle is going to make a ton of money.
Yeah.
It will evolve to be just like the NFL salary scale, and it has in just 2 years.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. I remember when somebody was talking about that, Georgia's getting all of these defensive linemen, and Texas A&M was spending a lot of money on defensive linemen. And I said,
yep,
yes, that's how you build a team. You build it from the inside. You're going to get a quarterback, but if you have a great offensive and defensive line, you're set. You're good to go. And I understand that these guys go for pretty penny right now. I was just surprised that Deion sounds so modern, but then he sounded so old school when he said we're not going to be an ATM.
I said on my show last week, Dan, I was like, when did Dabo Swinney land in Boulder? Like, it's because, like, Dabo is old school. He's stubborn. He's not been willing to adjust to things. And you've seen a drop in performance in Clemson. Deion doesn't need to be acting like Dabo. He just started doing this. He needs to adapt to the world as it is now. it's not going to ever go back to what it was. In fact, it's going to go the other way where the coaches are going to make less. The schools will be paying the players directly. That's going to happen in a few years. The court system's going to force them into that. But right now they have this weird backward ass system where you can give Tom Allen a $15 million buyout, which, by the way, he was nice enough to negotiate down from 20. So Indiana was willing to pay $20 million to fire Tom Allen. Well, why would you just use that to buy better players? Like, it's a stupid system, but that's where we're at right now. It's sort of the middle ground between what was before and what will be.
It's a transfer portal season. What should we be keeping an eye on?
Keep an eye on those offensive and defensive linemen because they're really hard to find, and they're starting to realize their value. There's a New Mexico offensive lineman named J.C. Davis who entered the portal today, and everybody's like, who? Well, he was maybe the best offensive lineman in the Mountain West. So guess what? Everybody on earth is going to want this guy. So if you haven't heard, like last year, there's this guy named Johnny Cornelius who played at Rhode Island, and when he entered the portal, his phone just melted. And he's the starting right tackle at Oregon. He'll be playing for Oregon in the Pac-12 championship game on Friday now. So that's what it is. We're all going to look at the quarterbacks. Everybody's going to look at the shiny thing. Look over here. Look over here. Most of the quarterbacks in the portal, we assume it's going to be like Caleb Williams or Kyler Murray. Most of the quarterbacks in the portal are in the portal because they were not going to start at their old school. Some of them might be trying to move up to a different level of competition or make some more money, but most of them are in there because they were not going to start.
Yeah, but you look at Michael Penix Jr., you look at Jaden Daniels, you look at Bo Nix. Those guys are all transferred, and they're all mentioned in the Heisman race.
Exactly, but they were all having issues at their old schools. Michael Penix was injuries and everything. Bo Nix was, on the outs with Brian Harsin. So yeah, if you see an extenuating circumstance, then that's the quarterback you probably want because it's probably not about the way they play. But watch these offensive and defensive linemen coming from the FCS, coming from the group of five, because what they've realized is they're a very valuable commodity now, and there's going to be a lot of schools after them.
I felt bad with the state of the Pac-12. It was a great year for them, and it's a shame that they can't build off of this. What is the future of the Pac-12?
I mean, it's not going to be the Pac-12 as we know it. The name remains with Oregon State and Washington State. And I love what they've done legally to try to make sure that the 10 departing schools don't just take all the money. Like, I think Oregon State and Washington State should get all the money that's sitting there because they're the ones who got left behind. But what we're going to see ultimately is basically a quasi merger between those two and the Mountain West. I would call it the Pac whatever number it is because the branding's better, but it'll basically be the Mountain West.
Good to see you as always. Have fun, Alabama and Georgia.
Can't wait.
What if Bama wins? Does Georgia stay in the top four?
That's the big question, Dan, because Alabama is the ultimate agent of chaos. Remember, Texas has a head-to-head win in Tuscaloosa. Yeah. So if Texas wins the Big 12, Alabama beats Georgia, that's going to pull, because remember, Texas might get left out even if they win. So that may pull Texas up. And I'm telling you, nobody with the Pac-12 teams, Florida State, nobody wants to be judged against a 12-1 Georgia because Vegas would favor a 12-1 Georgia against everybody. And the committee members, if you gave them truth serum with a 12-1 Georgia, you'd say, would they beat these teams? They go, yeah, probably. So you don't want to deal with that. Like, everybody else wants Georgia to win. Alabama is the ultimate agent of chaos.
Thank you, Andy. Good to talk to you as always.
Thanks, Dan.
Andy Staples covers college football for at On3 Sports. Always makes us smarter there.